Joining me now is founder and proprietor of ReaganBaby.com, Megan Barth. Megan, hi, good to see you.
Great to see you too, Liz.
All right, Megan, let's start with the question of the day today, and that's about Hillary Clinton's lapse. And I'm just going to go ahead and call it a lapse because I think that's what it was. Was it a crime, though? That's the question. Did she commit another crime with classified information when she let everyone around the world, every single person who wanted access to this information, know that it takes the United States almost 4 minutes, those are her words, to respond to a nuclear attack?
Well, what is a crime in this administration? That's really the question we have to ask, because obviously destroying 33,000 emails, which comprised our national archives, is no longer a crime because Comey had to write in intent into the Espionage Act in order to find fault. So that's number one. Number two, Biden exposed the military member who was holding the codes as he was giving a speech. So nothing with the Democrats seemed to be secret except for Hillary's secrets.
Right, and nothing that actually matters to the security of our nation, only things that matter to the security of Hillary's own pocketbook. But I think, Megan, this basically means Bernie Sanders was right. In the primaries, Bernie Sanders says Hillary Clinton, for all her experience, doesn't have the judgment to be president. She's demonstrated that. And Donald Trump has picked up where Bernie Sanders left off about the judgment. And I do think they're both right in this case. This kind of behavior, whether or not it's criminal, whether or not it was classified information, it demonstrates that she cares more about winning than she does about giving this information to someone who may want to use it to hurt us.
Absolutely. You know, we used to have covert operations at one point in this country, and they're labeled covert for a reason. But they don't seem to, the Democrats don't seem to operate covertly when it comes to our national security and resources and assets around the world. They're very flagrant. Is that if you were playing poker, you just lay out your hands on the table to show all of your opponents your cards. The foreign policy of this administration and Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State demonstrates a severe lack in judgment, especially when you look at Libya, especially when you look at Egypt and the jihadi playgrounds that have developed in those countries, creating not only an ISIS caliphate, which is now in 32 countries, which didn't exist, but also a refugee crisis, which is impacting our own security, our borders, as well as Europe's.
Right, and I hate to propagate this talking point, but the most talked about moment from the debate was, in fact, when Donald Trump said that he may not accept the results of the election if he didn't win. I was actually surprised, to be honest, Megan, looking at Twitter during the debate and reading all the headlines afterward of all the substance in the debate, because it was a substantive debate for once, which we haven't seen in the other ones. But I was surprised that this was the most talked about moment, and I don't want to propagate it, but I do want to ask you, was this a lapse in judgment for Donald Trump to make that comment and then follow it up the next day in a rally by saying he will accept the results if he wins?
No, I don't think it was a lack of judgment. You're actually, as a businessman, you protect all of your resources in order to defend yourself. You need a defense. He doesn't even know what he's agreeing to. There's already been a massive amount of voter fraud uncovered in 57 counties in Indiana, in Tarrant County in Texas, and many in New York, in Florida, and the list goes on and on. We know that the Democrats rigged the primary election and stole, really, the nomination and California from Bernie Sanders. Who is to say that the Democrats wouldn't do the same exact thing in a national election? They've already set up the areas where they can do massive fraud. And James O'Keefe uncovers in Project Veritas the massive fraud that was going on with black operations that the DNC and the Hillary campaign paid.
Right, and this, I've been saying this all week, but this should be a bipartisan issue in the sense that investigating voter fraud, or like you said, acknowledging the fact that the DNC and Hillary Clinton rigged the primary against Bernie Sanders, which should be illegal. It's certainly unethical if it's not illegal. This is good for the integrity. It's protecting the integrity of all of our votes, whether you're Democrat, Republican, whether you don't like either of the candidates. This is protecting the integrity of our election system. And it's also, Megan, it's also hypocritical here. We have a video of the 2000 elections. Al Gore, after he lost to George W. Bush, he didn't exactly accept the results very graciously. Take a look.
If you lose at the Supreme Court of Florida, will you concede?
Well, the effort I have underway is simply to make sure that all the votes are counted, and when the issues that are now being considered in the Florida Supreme Court are decided, that'll be an important point. But I don't want to speculate on what the Florida Supreme Court will do.
Megan, I've listened to that probably half a dozen times now, and nowhere from the start to the end do I hear a gracious concession from Al Gore.
Al Gore challenged those results out of Florida for 2,000 days and took it to the Supreme Court. To this day, Hillary Clinton and many prominent Democrats, including Al Gore, says Bush was selected, not elected.
Right, and I think that's what Democrats are missing the point. Besides the fact, and this is coming not just from Democrats, actually, there are some very prominent Republicans, some Republican minds who I have a great deal of respect for, who are talking about how this demeans our system of government, our republic, and because of the peaceful transition of power that is so critical to the life of our republic. And I truly think they're missing the point here, because Donald Trump is not the president right now. He will not be the outgoing president. He's not refusing to leave office when someone else wins. It's irrelevant what he thinks if he loses.
Well, honestly, the Democrats haven't been really peaceful with their power, have they? They've used the power of the federal government against their political enemies. So regarding a peaceful transfer of power, we are talking about Donald Trump as an outsider, disrupting the most powerful criminal organization, which is the Clinton Foundation, as well as this administration and government. We even see that the press is in bed with the government and the DNC. So we are talking about an enormous amount of power that Donald Trump is a threat to. And so this is why you see such unhinged antics, as much as sending violent protesters into Trump rallies. This is a sign of fear. And so the Democrats need to create a boogeyman in Putin, or they need to create a sexual molester in Donald Trump, or a sexual predator in Donald Trump to take away from Bill Clinton. And what they do is they deflect. This is a progressive projection of deflection.
You're absolutely right.
They don't want to talk about the statistics. They don't want to talk about the issues. They don't want to talk about the reality of voter fraud, because then they can't cover up their own crimes and misdemeanors.
Right. You're absolutely right. It's a distraction from the substance of the debate, because there were great questions, great journalism from Chris Wallace, great answers, revealing answers from both Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, and the press. The press can't stand to talk about that. Megan, we're out of time, but thanks so much for being here. It was great to talk to you. All right, guys, we'd like to know your thoughts on the matter, too. Tweet me at Liz_Wheeler, and we'll be back in 1 minute.